When my stepson surprised me with a heartfelt gesture, I never imagined how much it would change the way I looked at family, love, and the bonds we create not by blood but by choice. My name is Emily, and I had married David 5 years ago. At that time, he had an 8-year-old son named Ryan. When we first met, Ryan was quiet, shy, and hesitant to accept me. I understood his feelings completely. I was not his mother, and I could never replace her, but I hoped one day he would accept me as someone who loved and cared for him deeply. The beginning of our blended family life was not easy. Ryan would often keep to himself, and though polite, he rarely shared much about his feelings. I tried not to pressure him, choosing instead to show kindness through small everyday acts, making his favorite pancakes on weekends, attending his soccer games, and reading him bedtime stories when he asked. Over time, he began to open up little by little. The first time he hugged me goodnight, I cried quietly afterward because it meant I was slowly becoming part of his world. Life went on with its usual rhythm. David worked long hours, I managed the home, and Ryan was growing fast. By the time he turned 13, I noticed how thoughtful he had become. He wasn't just a boy anymore. He was maturing into a kind-hearted young man. He would help me carry groceries, rake the yard without being asked, and even once surprised me by fixing the leaky faucet in the kitchen after watching a few tutorial videos online. I was always grateful, but there was one moment, one gesture, that touched me so deeply it left me speechless. It was just before my birthday, and though David had planned to take me out to dinner, he had to leave town for an unexpected business trip. I didn't mind much, but Ryan noticed my quiet disappointment. I didn't think he would pay much attention, but I was wrong. The night before my birthday, he came to me nervously and asked if I would be home the next evening. When I said yes, he smiled and said, "Good. Don't make any plans. I've got something for you." The following day, after I returned from work, I opened the door to find the lights dimmed and soft music playing. Ryan had decorated the dining room with streamers and balloons. On the table, he had placed a cake he baked himself, though slightly uneven and messy with frosting, and a bouquet of wildflowers he had picked from the park nearby. My heart swelled, and tears immediately filled my eyes. He looked at me with a shy grin and said, "Happy birthday, Emily. I wanted to make sure you felt special, even if Dad couldn't be here." I was overwhelmed. It wasn't just the decorations or the cake. It was the thought, the love, and the care he had put into everything. This boy, who once kept me at arm's length, had gone out of his way to show me I mattered to him. I hugged him tightly, whispering thank you again and again. That night we sat together, ate his homemade cake, laughed about the frosting disaster, and talked more openly than we ever had before. It felt like a turning point in our relationship. Ryan began to share more of his life with me after that day. He would tell me about school drama, his favorite new songs, and even ask me for advice when he had a crush on a girl in his class. It was in those conversations that I realized something powerful. Family isn't always defined by blood, but by the love, respect, and kindness we give one another. His gesture, simple yet so heartfelt, made me feel more like his parent than ever before. The years rolled on, and Ryan grew into a young man with a bright future ahead of him. He got into college, and on the day he left for his dorm, he hugged me tightly and whispered, "I'll miss you, Mom." That was the first time he called me that, and it felt like the greatest gift I had ever received. I realized then that the little boy who once struggled to let me in had accepted me fully, not just as his stepmother, but as someone he loved like his own. Looking back, that birthday surprise wasn't just about balloons, cake, or flowers. It was about the bond we created through patience, trust, and love. Ryan's thoughtful act reminded me that even the smallest gestures can have the biggest impact. They can heal wounds, build bridges, and turn strangers into family. That heartfelt surprise showed me that love has no boundaries, and sometimes the relationships we build by choice can be just as powerful, if not more, than the ones we are born into. Even today, whenever I think about Ryan's gesture, my heart swells with gratitude. It wasn't just a surprise, it was a reminder that in life, love often comes from the most unexpected places, and sometimes it is in those quiet, thoughtful acts that we find the truest meaning of family.